Good morning, good afternoon, good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Spiritist Talk series that is promoted weekly by the United States Spiritist Federation every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Today, I'm really happy to be here and host a very special talk. This is the what I call a special edition called Self-Assessment and Resolution. Yes, self-assessment and resolutions. As we approach the new year of 2023, we have a wonderful, wonderful panel with guests to be here. They will be here to discuss 6 different qualities or 6 different aspects of our personal spiritual growth. So I would like for you to be here to listen to all of them. And yes, there is an opportunity to have your questions or your comments answered or addressed during the presentation at the very end. So please use the chat window and put your thoughts, your ideas, your comments, etc. We will have about 20 minutes to address your comments. And I would like at this point to introduce the speakers panel. And we start with Alba Nidia Morales. Alba has a bachelor's degree in psychology and pedagogy and a master's degree in education. She has been working in education for more than 30 years, and currently she works as a school, community, and family specialist for a school district in Maryland. Ms. Morales is an active member of the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, or SSB, and she's been working with them since 2006. She is coordinating the Children and Youth Spiritist Education Program since 2008. Thank you, Alba, for being here. Next, I would like to introduce Andrea Marshall Neto. I'm sorry. Hi, Andrea. Andrea is the director at Conscious Living Spiritist Group. She is secretary of the board of the Spiritist Federation of Florida. She is also a managing director of Leal Publisher, that is the affiliated branch of Leal Livraria in Brazil, in the translation and dissemination of Divaldo Franco's Spiritist books. She's also a FEB publisher. She's working for both Leal Publisher and FEB Publisher, which is also an affiliated branch of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation's publisher, with the goal of also disseminating the Spiritist titles in English. I would like to introduce Claudio Filho, who is dad of one. He is a technology enthusiast. He's been studying Spiritism since 2010 and is a member of the California Spiritist Association and NOSSOS Spiritist Society. Let's bring Ligia Carvalho, who is the secretary and the coordinator of the Spiritist Education Department and the bookstore for the Spiritist Center Divine Light in Newark, New Jersey, which she co-founded and currently coordinates with a group of friends. Ligia is an active participant in the USA Spiritist movement as a speaker. She's also a member of the United States Spiritist Federation, and she serves as their Family, Youth, and Children's Spiritist Education Director, FIXI. Professionally, Ligia is a licensed therapist with more than 15 years experience working with children and adolescents with behavioral and mental health problems, and she also works as a grief and bereavement therapist. Let's bring Peter. Peter Hayes is a worker at Spiritist Group Love and Light in Newark, New Jersey. He's also the current outreach director of the United States Spiritist Federation and an active participant in the Tri-State Spiritist Federation. Peter has published several children's books, love them by the way, with his wife, Betty Rosen, through their company Sem Fronteiras Press, and also with other publishers in Brazil, Colombia, and the US. He has a very long background, extensive background in theater, and he holds an MFA in dramatic writing from New York University. Currently, he works in commercial real estate. Finally, let's bring Sonia Doi. Dr. Doi is currently occupying the positions, plural, of President of the Allan Kardec Spiritist Society of Maryland, the U.S. Spiritist Medical Association, and the International Spiritist Medical Association. She graduated medicine by the University of São Paulo, Brazil, and has a specialization in endocrinology. I want to thank you, my dear friends, my esteemed panel members, and the organizations they represent. I would like to go ahead and thank everybody who's here today watching this live broadcast, and want to give together with them a very, very warm welcome to all. It is so good to have you here discussing self-assessment and resolutions. And I am sure you're as eager as I am to hear from them. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to ask Alba Morales, representing the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, to start our panel discussion today with her topic, patience.
Thank you everyone. If you see a little tiny face there, it's my grandchild. This is life. So, okay. Thank you, dear. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on a second. Give me a second. We practice everything, but now a little one is here. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Patience. So let me practice patience for a minute. Okay, he's gone. Imagine someone gives you the seed of a tree. Imagine that you plant this seed and you're watering the seed every single day. You put all your love, all your effort, all your care, just to see that seed blossom. A year passed and nothing is coming out from the ground. You're wondering, maybe it needs more care. So you continue doing the same, watering the seed for a second year. Nothing is growing. For a third year, nothing is growing. Hold on a second. Baby, I can't help you. And for the third year, and nothing is coming out from the ground. By the fourth year, you are questioning yourself, what is going on? However, although you're still tired, you continue giving care to the seed, watering the seed, and with the hope that one day it will grow. 4 years pass, and you start thinking that all your efforts are not making any sense. By the 5th year, in 6 weeks, a beautiful bamboo tree blossoms, and it grows 8 foot tall. And you are amazed. In China, there is this type of bamboo that you need to water for 5 consecutive years, every single day, until it blossoms. In the 5th year, in 6 weeks, it grows immensely. And this is a story by Rahanath Swami, which is a Hinduist monk. That's how we start taking this subject of patience today. What it is patience? What is it? So we went to the dictionary, And it's come from the word patientia, that means to suffer or endure. And in the same Oxford Dictionary, they say that is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. Paciencia, suffer and endure, and the capacity to accept whatever it comes to our lives. 1 year of watering the seed, 2 years of watering the seed, without getting angry, upset, or without losing hope. Patience is helping us in our day-to-day lives to obtain things that we set for ourselves, like to get into the goals that we set for ourselves. However, and currently in nowadays, right, there is something, a great force that is opposite to patience. And we see this in all of us, especially in the new generations, in the old spirits that are reincarnating as a little kids or children, and it is instant gratification. We want that food now, and we have an app and we get it. Or we want this other gadget. Or we want, and everything is in our fingertips, and we get it. We get it. Instant gratification. According with the same dictionary, instant gratification is a term that refers to the temptation and resulting tendency to forego a future benefit in order to obtain a less rewarding but more immediate benefit. So basically, when we don't exercise patience, we are doing an interchange, and we are getting something of less value instead of waiting for the result or for something that is going to bring more fulfillment to our life. That's basically it. So why in the New Year's resolutions, when we start meditating about this, why patience is important in building these goals, as we mentioned before. The same monk, Radhanath Swami, said that we need to define our goals and values and then pursue them with enthusiasm and patience. So what is the invitation for today? Today we are inviting you, all of us, to certainly reflect about 2022. What did I accomplish? What I didn't know? Or what I still in my bucket list? Just reflecting about it and setting new goals. We need, obviously, in this planetary level, these pauses of reflection and pauses in the time. We need time and space for us to really grab the meaning of life. So now that the end of the year is approaching, let us reflect in those goals. And then we need 2 elements to pursue our goals. And they could be short-term or long-term. By either of them, we need patience. 1, 2, 4, 5 years of watering the seed, of watering the goal that we have with all our love, with all our desire, and with enthusiasm. So that's why patience is so important. Because when we persist, we make this silence pause here, we will get there. As the opposite, when we want the instant gratification, when we want the instant reward, when we want just to see things right here and right now and in this moment and at this point, we are getting something little and interchanging for a beautiful, greater benefit. What is the beautiful, greater benefit? It depends of our goals, but since we are talking through a spiritist channel, it has to be with the reward for the spirit. What do we want in our future? Do I want to return to planet Earth and repeat the same lessons? Do I want to return to planet Earth and to have a better world? And to grow from this person that I am now to grow in a better person in the future? We're talking here about goals that are also are going to be directed towards the transcendence spirit. It's not only goals for 2023, and it's not only patience and hard work and enthusiasm for this year that is ahead or this lifetime, but also as spirits. Our destiny is to be truly happy. How can we get that happiness? We need to start exercising now. And another phase of patience, we find it in the Gospel according to Spiritism, in chapter 9, in which the spirits say patience is too a form of charity. Charity towards ourselves and charity towards others. And they say the charity that consists in giving alms to the poor is the easiest of all charities. There is another kind, forgiving those whom God placed on our path to be instruments of our suffering and to put our patience to test. And here we say, the bar is too high. The bar is too high. Because patience is not only to get us, to help us to get the goals, the wants, the projects that we have, right? Patience with ourselves when we get ill, when we know the theory but not the practice. It happens a lot for us spiritists that, I shouldn't be angry in this moment, but I shouldn't say this or that. I know better. Patient. We are learning. We are a work in progress. Patient with ourselves, but especially exercising charity and patience to the ones that are around us, the ones that God placed in our path as an instruments of suffering. Instruments of suffering. And we know that suffering and pain and the obstacles and the tests that we have in life, they are a necessity. We need them to learn. Sometimes we request them before we were born, when we were planning our reincarnation, when we were doing our reincarnatory plan. And most important of all, if we want to be a truly happy, joyful spirit, we need to acquire so many virtues that we're going to see some of them here in this presentation today. Patience is one of them. So we're thinking, how can I acquire patience? I have a short temper. I really don't tolerate this and that. Oh, okay, God, the universe, the immense love of the universe is saying, my dear, my son, my child, my daughter, here I'm going to place you with these family members. Oh, here I'm going to place classmates. I'm going to place you in this community. And not everybody over there is a test for our patient. Obviously, it will be very unfair. But the ones that are closest to us are the more challenging ones, right? like we truly need to embrace charity and to think what I would like for others to do if I were in that position. The golden rule: do unto others what you want others to do unto you. And then is when we start exercising patience. 1 year, 3 years, 6 years, 600 years, eternity. So that's why patience is so important in our New Year resolutions and in general in our life. It helps us to acquire our goals. We need persistence and enthusiasm to go along with patience, but also it helps us to understand ourselves better, to take care of ourselves better, but most of all, to tolerate, to forgive those around us. We would like to see what Joanna de Angelis, in her book Happy Life, in chapter 4, she says about patience. Patience is a virtue that will help you acquire physical, spiritual, and social assets. We see it when we set our goals. It teaches us how to wait when we cannot have what we want right away. Teaches how to wait. How to wait, because we will get it eventually at some point. Never become impatient. Patience will help you overcome everything. And this is when what we see in the spiritual leaders, whatever is our spiritual leaders, in a temple, in a mosque, in a church, in the Spiritist movement, Hinduism, we see them, that all of them, they exercise patience. They're very serene, very composed.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's so awesome, Alba. Let's go ahead
Thank you.
and yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for being here and talking to us. I just love what you talked to us about it, and the fact that this is truly a reminder for all of us, right? How to be patient, with ourselves, how to be patient with all of those who are on our path, right? Alba said they're instruments of our suffering, but they're mostly instruments of our growth. So thank you, Alba. And I would like now to ask Peter Hayes. And Peter, hi, Peter. Peter will be discussing humility. Woo, that's a tough one, Peter. Peter's talking to us from New Jersey, and he'll be representing the Tri-State Spiritist Federation. Peter, go ahead, take it away.
Okay. So it is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. What is humility, and what problems might we have when we lack humility? It's a good idea to put those two questions together, because one of the ways in which humility is defined is what it's not. For instance, humility is not proud or haughty. Humility is not arrogant or assertive. And since the opposite of humility is not being proud, for instance, it's a good idea to distinguish between healthy pride and unhealthy pride. Healthy pride is rooted in self-esteem and confidence, and it's essential. It's part of normal emotional development. In fact, you could say that that when we have healthy pride, it is very much connected to humility, and that we should be able to, the people who have healthy pride tend to be people who are more calm, serene, and they're not afraid of the truth. They're not afraid of criticism, and they know who they are. In other words, people with healthy pride are grounded. But unhealthy pride is often linked to arrogance. And a lot of times people who have unhealthy pride don't necessarily know who they really are at their core, and they're not grounded. Often arrogance is overcompensating for security, or it expresses shame in some way. An unhealthy pride, aggressive behavior are connected to grandiosity, which is a recognized mental disorder that is connected to narcissism. People who are arrogant and narcissistic feel compelled to inflate their image to the world at large. They tend to resent criticism. They tend to be aggressive, and they manipulate other people when doing so suits their purposes. Often their interest in someone is directly proportional to what they can get out of that person. And when arrogant, narcissistic people are disappointed, well, they can easily feel angry and even depressed. All these attributes, the opposite of humility, create unhappiness and emotional emptiness. And naturally, another part of all this is selfishness. So what do we mean by selfishness? Well, selfishness can be something like this. I am the center of the universe. My needs are more important than everyone else's. This is a normal attitude for babies and small children. Being egocentric is a baby or a small child's rite of passage. It's a normal, healthy part of growing from infancy into early childhood. That is, until we begin to learn and understand that we have to learn how to share, and that we begin to understand that there are others who also have needs and not just us. This is one reason why play is important for small children, because they begin to understand this very important virtue. So we human beings grow out of this egocentric phase if we experience normal, healthy development. However, it is a sign of emotional immaturity when we do not, unless there's something that's really preventing normal, healthy development. And it seems that, and yet, despite that, it seems that many take delight in being proud, entitled, and selfish. But these behaviors create instability for humanity as a whole, and that is why humility really matters. Why does selfishness and entitlement persist? Well, there are lots of reasons why that can occur. But a lot of it has to do with the distortion in our perceptions about the root cause of our problems. There was a recent article in Psychology Today that points out that a lot of times we tend to blame, or people who suffer with this, will blame their problems on external factors like the government, corporations, other people, and so forth. But there are times that feeling can be justified. That's true. There may be times when those situations occur. But if we position ourselves primarily as victims, it can become a cop-out. If we cling to feeling that external feelings are always affecting us in some way, then it kind of implies that we are helpless. It implies that we do not have to take responsibility. But this attitude, understandable as it can be, is nevertheless a distortion. Even though we spiritists often emphasize that we are not victims, the desire to do so or act as if we are victims can be a sign of depression, and it can be also connected to feelings that we are no longer in control. And yet, a desire to be in control all the time or control everyone and everything around us is also another sign of emotional immaturity. Most of us understand this need to be in control is not realistic and it's irrational, and yet sometimes we want to do this anyway. But why does humility matter, and what are some of Spiritism's perspectives on it? Well, Spiritism emphasizes that we human beings are social animals, and therefore we need one another in order to grow together as a community. Unhealthy pride and selfishness prevent this from happening. That is why, for instance, question 759 in the Spirit's book emphasizes that pride and vanity are two plagues of humanity. And question 785 points out that pride and selfishness are the greatest obstacles to progress. This is all part of part 3 of the Spirit's book, by the way, that talks about the divine laws that come from God. And it's interesting that this idea gets elaborated on in question 793, when it says a fully developed civilization is where we have the least amount of selfishness, greed, and pride. And another telling point that is made is question 806, which emphasizes that social and financial inequality is not a law of nature, that inequalities will vanish with the disappearance of pride and selfishness. And maybe this is why those points made maybe this is why in the beginning of the Spirit's book, in the introduction, it says, good spirits only provide assistance to those who serve God with humility and impartiality. So our intentions are essential in this. Now, Spiritism is rooted in the teachings of Jesus, and since that is the case, the Gospel according to Spiritism also has some comments about humility. But I'll mention first that in question 658 from the Spirit's book, God, when it talks about prayer, God will ignore the prayer of a vain, proud, or selfish person unless it is offered as an act of sincere repentance and humility. So in the Gospel according to Spiritism, it mentions blessed in chapter 7 is blessed are the poor in spirit. But to be poor in spirit does not mean that we're dumb or simple-minded in some way, but rather that to be poor in spirit means to be humble and that we free ourselves of unhealthy pride. And when we're able to do this, then the kingdom of God belongs to those who are humble. And this helps to free us up. And it's also connected to charity, that is, humility is. Without humility, charity is impossible. And this leads to the important maxim from Spiritism, without charity, there can be no salvation. Also, chapter 7 from the Gospel according to Spiritism emphasizes that pride is a terrible adversary to humility. So why is pride a terrible adversary to humility? Well, one reason would be that because humility is wrongly perceived as being weak, therefore humility is frequently under attack. In the brand new book from Joanna de Angelis in English, it's an old book, but it's called Sowing of Love. There's a nice chapter, chapter 50, on the subject of humility. And she emphasizes that modern life with its false notions conspires against its vitality, claiming it to be cowardice and weakness. But she points out this is not correct. She says that humility is the opposite of weakness and, quote, cannot be confused with shyness or fear. And there's some nice attributes that are emphasized in humility, but it's also important to say that since the law of progress says that pride and selfishness are big obstacles to spiritual progress, then humility, which is the opposite, is essential to humanity's progress. By eliminating selfishness and pride as much as we can, we're taking direct responsibility for ensuring peace and prosperity for all, not just a few. And that's what creates stability. And the great thing is that each of us can do this. There's really nothing realistic to stop us, even though it's something that we struggle with at times. And some attributes of humility, also from the Sowing of Love, is, I like this one. The more humility conceals itself, the more beautiful it gets. And here's a nice one. Humility helps without being smug about it, like a precious brook that does not know the benefit it spreads. So if we imagine ourselves being like a river of water, we're connected to the earth, we're flowing, we're providing nourishment, and yet we don't even notice that we're doing it. And I just want to wrap up by sharing with you a chapter from our Daily Bread, chapter 66, which I'm very fond of. It's called Goodwill, and it opens with a quote from Paul's letter to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 15. He says, "See to it that you live prudently, Well, what does that mean? Emmanuel emphasizes that goodwill finds work to be done. Work leads to renewal. Renewal finds the good expresses the spirit of service. The spirit of service brings understanding. Understanding brings humility. Humility wins love. Love leads to self-denial. Self-denial reaches the light. The light promotes self-betterment. Self-betterment sanctifies the individual. The sanctified individual converts the world to God. Proceeding prudently through simple goodwill, the individual reaches the divine kingdom of the light. So if we think about resolution for the next year, maybe we could ask ourselves the following question. Can I find ways to help without calling attention to myself? If we can do that, then we're truly, it's one way certainly to practice humility. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. This is awesome, isn't it? I love that you shared quotes from A Sowing of Love by Joanna de Angelis, Our Daily Bread by Emmanuel, in addition to your talk with the Spirit's book and the Gospel According to Spiritism by Allan Kardec. So, everyone, we have lots and lots to ponder on the subject of humility. But shall I continue with now Claudio Filho, who will be discussing altruism. Thank you so much, Claudio, for being here and for representing the California Spiritist Association.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marcia. So altruism is the perfect continuation from what we learned so far on patience and also humility. A lot of people define altruism as the opposite of egoism. It's definitely something to consider, right? But it's so much more than that. It's really compassion. It's being selfless. It's the desire to help other people without getting anything back. And we live in a time that, although Spiritism tells us that we're moving toward a better world with more evolved people, it's hard sometimes to believe on that. We are exposed to so many news on negativity or tragedies that are occurring elsewhere in the world. We have a war going on right now. So sometimes it's really all this negativity impacts us, and it makes us question if that's really happening. And I want to tell you guys a story that happened in my very little town here. I'm in the Bay Area, in a place called Pleasanton. And although the Bay Area is known for the very chill weather, in July, this little town that I live on, Pleasanton, gets really hot. So it was July 10th of 2021, and this ultra marathon runner decided to take a run in the hills right back to me here. And like I said, it was a very, very hot day, 106 degrees that day, and he never made back home, right? So the outcome of the story wasn't great, but the commotion that happened that day was truly amazing. So unfortunately, 24 days later, they found his name was Philip Kreisig, and 24 days later, they found his body. One of the volunteers found his body under a tree. So he was a dad. He had 2 kids, and he also left a wife. So it was a very sad story. And he didn't grow up here in Pleasanton. He was actually from Berkeley, but he grew up someplace else. And I know his parents live here in town, but he didn't grow up here. So most of the people here in Pleasanton never heard about Philip Kreisig. And one of my very good friends, Dave Grove, he took the day off work. As soon as we heard that was happening, that they were searching for him, a lot of people start to get together and find ways to help. So Dave took the day off work and took a really, really long hike that day. I think he hiked, if I'm not mistaken, 15 miles that day. So he started early in the morning and ended at the end of the day. And as Dave, a lot of other people did the same. And they got together They put together a little page on Facebook and also a website with instructions in how to help. Some people brought coolers. People were bringing snacks and water for the volunteers. People really, really got together. And the craziest part was most people didn't know Philip or didn't know his family. They were just there to help. They were just there for the good of their souls. And that was the most beautiful part of it. Because again, they're they're nothing in return. They were just doing for the good of their heart. And some days we had more than 200 people searching for Philip. At one point, they started using an app where you can track. So a lot of runners and people that do outdoor activities, they use this app and they started tracking every single inch of all the trails in the park. And the park is huge, right? So, and they were comparing notes. And again, it was a beautiful thing that happened. Although the outcome, they finally found his body and brought peace to the family. Um, it was a truly beautiful thing that happened where the commotion of people trying to help a stranger that nobody knew who he was. It was the beauty of the story. And every day in our lives we have the opportunity to help someone. And a lot of people think, oh yeah, I can donate money. Yeah, donating money is a phenomenal thing. So if you don't have the time to give, but if you can donate money, and there are several ways to do that. There are even some websites that you can go and check which places you should donate your money to, because that will have the most impact. Like the Malaria Foundation in Africa, apparently is one of the ways where you can help most people in the world if you could donate there. But besides donating money, every single one of us can help. One way, maybe whenever you go to work and you notice someone is not doing well that day, be a listener. Just sit there and ask, hey, how are you doing today? And truly listen. Most people, they don't need to hear an advice. They just need someone to be listened to. So be there for your coworkers, for your family, your friends, or even a stranger. If you go to a cafe or something, just be there for them. Uh, the other way that every one of us can help others is enabling other people to get a job. So we're living in a potential new financial crisis in the world, and we start hearing a lot about layoffs. I'm here in the Bay Area. I'm hearing all kinds of like news on layoffs and everything. Try to help someone to get a job. Sit with them, look at their resume, look at their LinkedIn page, pass the word around to your friends that maybe this person is looking for a job. That's a phenomenal way to help someone. Help kids with education. Donate your time to schools that are here in the Bay Area. We I used to help some people from Google where we would go to schools and teach kids how to write code, right? So every single one of us can help the school around your house, or maybe the school that your kids go to, by providing lunch, or by there's so many things that you can do there. Um, at work again, I had a boss that once told me that if you don't teach what you know to others, you never have the chance to grow. So teach others what you do, or if you find a way to do something better, pass that information along. That's being altruistic. And not only it's going to help you to grow, but you're also helping another human being to grow. Um, and helping your spirit center, there's always so many different activities there to be done. So don't be afraid to pull out those leaves and ask what can I help. And on the spirit center, there's so many different things that can be done, right? So it can either be just someone that goes out the door and greets the people, or picking up the trash, or help with being a speaker, or a volunteer in some of the activities that you have in there. And the last one I want to say here: be generous. We live in a society that is very greedy today. So be generous to the people that you're close to. Pay well. If you have a company, or if you hire anyone, even if it's your gardener or whatever, pay them well. Because if we spread our wealth, we're also helping the world to be a better place. Every one of us have a lot to offer, so we need to be the light to the other people's darknesses. And that's it. Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Claudio. Thank you for your perspective on altruism, right? And how to show selflessness, charity, generosity. I love that. Let's spread the wealth. Let's spread, and doing that by being the light. Thank you so very much. So now I would like to welcome Ligia Carvalho. And Ligia is representing the United States Spiritist Federation, and she will be talking about resilience. Ligia, please take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm being benefited here by hearing these wonderful insights. And I think the linkage that we can put with my topic being resilience is, what we've noticed is by talking through patience and humility and altruism, you focus a lot of our connectedness with the outside world and how to interact. But resilience is sort of looking more into yourself. So what